All right, so picture this with me. Fresh honeycomb, dripping with honey. That golden sweetness, it's all thanks to those tiny bees working in those amazing ways, right? It really makes you think.
It's incredible, isn't it? And actually, that's the perfect image to kick off today's deep dive, because Surah An-Nahl, the bee, uses these amazing little creatures to explore some pretty profound ideas about, well, God, creation, all of it.
So we're starting with the bees, but it's clearly not just about appreciating nature, is it? It feels like the Surah is pointing us towards something much, much bigger.
Exactly. It starts by building up this sense of awe. It wants us to really think about those everyday miracles, not just the bees, but the cattle that sustain us, even those stars up in the sky guiding us. It's all pointing back to the divine.
It really does make you stop and think, like, it's not just mentioning these things either. Take the water cycle, for example.
All right.
Verse 10 paints this picture of rain, breathing life into the earth, giving life to everything, and suddenly it hits you. We're all connected, humans, animals, plants, all part of this amazing system.
It is about recognizing those connections, seeing how delicately everything's balanced. But look, it goes deeper than just observing. Check out verses 5, 6, and 7. They describe cattle, right? But in such detail, their beauty, their comfort, even the practicality of their hides and wool. It's like it wants us to appreciate not just the creation, but how God made it specifically to benefit us.
So it's like, look around. This isn't random. There's a design here, a purpose.
Yeah, you've got it. It's about recognizing God's hand in all of it. And that awareness, that sense of awe, it should make us humble because we're part of something so much bigger than ourselves.
And with that in mind, that feeling, it feels like we're ready to talk about our role in all of this.
You're right on track. By starting with this sense of awe, of wonder, Surah An-Nahl sets the stage for guidance, free will, all of it. How do we live in this incredible world God created? But before we get into that, I'm curious, what about this idea of creation really stood out to you?
It's amazing how the surah starts with those images of creation, like it's trying to awaken that sense of wonder in us. But then it moves beyond that, right?
It does, doesn't it?
It's like it's setting us up to understand our purpose, our role in it all.
It really is. And a huge part of that is understanding this idea of guidance,
Hmm.
and our own free will.
So, on the one hand, we have God, the creator of everything. He has this plan, this design. But then we have this free will. Like, we're not just robots programmed to follow a path.
Exactly. That's the beauty of it. The surah makes it clear that God guides us through the prophets, through scriptures, offering us a way to righteousness. But alongside that, we have this incredible gift, this free will. We can choose how we respond.
Which is interesting because, you could think if God wanted everyone to just follow those commands, he could have made it that way. But he didn't.
And that's something that scholars have been thinking about for centuries. What does it mean that we have this freedom, even though some might reject him? Makes you question faith, accountability, the whole thing.
That's a big question. And I feel like Surah An-Nahl gives us some clues, like in verses 35 and 36, where it talks about those who came before and how they reacted to God's messengers.
Exactly. It uses those stories, those examples, to show us what happens when we make choices. God guides, but he doesn't force. Some believe those messengers, embrace that guidance. Others, well, they follow their own way.
And those choices, they don't just impact them, do they?
No, not at all.
The surah makes it clear. Our choices have these ripple effects. It impacts our lives, the people around us, everything.
It's a powerful reminder. This freedom we have, it comes with huge responsibility. We're accountable for how we treat others, how we use what we're given, how we contribute to the world. It all matters.
It really makes you think about how we live our lives, all those choices we make every day, big and small.
And that's where Surah An-Nahl steps in, right? It doesn't just tell us about creation and free will. It lays out this ethical roadmap for us, how we should be living as individuals, as communities.
And it's all about those core values, isn't it? Justice, compassion, gratitude. Those words just keep coming up.
You're absolutely right. They're woven throughout the whole surah, guiding our actions in everything we do. And you see it so clearly when it tackles injustice, especially the mistreatment of girls just because they're girls.
It's incredible when you think about it. Verses like 58 and 59, they were challenging those social norms centuries ago, saying every life has value, every person deserves respect, regardless of gender.
It's a perfect example of how this message goes beyond just personal belief. It's about social change, about fighting oppression, building a society based on justice and compassion.
And it's interesting how it ties all these values together. Like in verse 90, right? It connects justice and compassion to those everyday things. Being honest, keeping our promises, not being arrogant.
Exactly.
Oh.
Every little action has a ripple effect. Arrogance can lead to injustice. Breaking promises destroys trust. It all matters.
So it's like we're being reminded that each choice we make, it's a chance to embody these values, a chance to spread a little good, a little justice. But, it's a journey. Nobody's perfect. We're all going to mess up, fall short sometimes.
And the Surah acknowledges that. It reminds us that God is merciful, that he forgives, especially when we're trying to improve, when we turn back to him. Like verse 119, it beautifully describes how even our imperfect efforts, they're recognized.
So we never give up. We keep striving, keep seeking guidance.
That's it. And on that journey, Surah An-Nahl leaves us with this final, really powerful thought. Verse 61, it reminds us that life is short, that we should make the most of the time we have.
It does, doesn't it? And it's
Yeah.
like that image we started with, those bees working together. Surah An-Nahl, it's asking us to find our own role, to play our own part in the world, leaving it a little brighter, a little better than we found it. All right, so picture this with me.